Hello there, and welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I am so glad you are joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez, and I get the pleasure and honor of hosting you here each week. And before we dive into today's episode, I will quickly introduce myself, just in case we're new friends, and then we'll jump on into the good stuff. All right. Now, as I said, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream chasing horse business owners like yourself to clear the marketing fog so they can take strategic, intentional steps to build their business with confidence and with purpose. I do this primarily through business coaching and then education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources for you all as well. All that I do is so that you, as an equestrian entrepreneur, can be out in the barn or the arena or behind the camera lens or at your desk, wherever it is you are serving the equine industry. I want to help you do more of that. And so today we are doing that by way of diving into a topic that honestly is not often talked about when you're looking for how to grow or run or market your equine business. But it is a very important topic if that's why you are here, which I'm going to assume that you're here because you want to build and or grow your business. Now, for a long time, I would say that equine entrepreneurs and horse business owners were feeling stuck, and that the real reason behind that was because they were treating their business like a hobby and not like a business. And I will honestly still say that is true for many. But here's what I've learned after working with more and more equine business owners, and especially those of you who are here listening to the podcast. This is actually not true for you. You do view your business as a business, right? You care, you're putting in the time, you're showing up, you're doing the work that one would expect from a business owner. And yet, something still feels off. You feel like you're busy all the time, but you're not really sure what's moving the needle. You are making money, but it's not feeling consistent. It still feels reactive. And when you sit down to quote unquote work on and not in the business, you're still not really sure where to start. And so what I'm seeing in that way is not that your mindset is that you're treating it like a hobby, but instead you're treating it like you're an employee rather than the CEO of your business, even if you are a business of one. All right. Yes, you're the one making the decisions, but you're doing it from a place of approaching it like an employee. Okay. So this applies to how you think, how you make decisions, how you choose to lead. All of that encompasses this idea of leading your business like a CEO, even if you're a company of one, because you still need someone to take the reins and take the charge. And that's why leadership is one of the 4 components of my groundwork to growth framework that I share inside of the Business Barn Collective. It is the foundation of everything that we do. Everything we do touches one of the 4 components, and leadership is one of those 4. Because when you step into that role as CEO, then your business is not running you, but you are truly running the business. And that's what I want for you, right? So today, in this episode, we're going to talk about on a very practical level, because you know I like to get practical, about what that really looks like. Okay, we're going to look at 5 ways that you can begin embracing your role as CEO of your horse business. Now, if we're new friends to the podcast, you should know when I say practical, I mean we're going to talk about what you actually can begin doing this week. Okay, this is not grandiose, big idea. This is the nitty gritty. This is how you're going to do it. Okay, so I want you to know you can get the highlights of this episode at stormlily.com/210 for episode 210. Because if you are listening, like I know many of you do, as you drive or as you're doing some ranch work or farm work or whatever it is that you're doing and you're multitasking, that's okay. I just want you to know where you can go find these specific areas and find the specific take action steps so that you can reference them and literally take action. because that's where the magic is going to happen, all right, is that consistent action. So I'm going to dive into these, but know that if you're not at a place to take notes, you can go to the show notes at any time and you will find this outline, okay? All right, so let's dive into the five sorry, friends, the five CEO moves that your horse business needs, even if you are a company of one. All right, number one, you need to own the identity of CEO. Okay. I'm going to guess that for some of you, when I say that, you have a visceral reaction. And so this first step starts with that internal work of determining that you are the business owner. You are the leader. You are in charge. Because if you're operating from a place of, I don't know if I'm good enough, who am I to charge those kind of prices? What if this doesn't work and it falls back on me because I'm taking the lead and taking charge? I'm afraid to fail. All of those things are internal work that completely impacts how you show up in your business and how you run your business. You're going to hesitate to make big game-changing decisions. You're going to hesitate to invest in yourself because you're not sure you're worthy of investing in yourself. You're going to play small and you're going to second guess your decisions if we don't first address this internal work that's required to step up and be the CEO of your business. Okay. So I want to give you two things that you can a seed that you can plant in your mind. Okay. When you start to have these second guessing thoughts that are going to come up, because let me also say this to you. As soon as you start to push past your comfort zone, as soon as you start to determine you're going to grow, which requires discomfort, you're going to begin to feel uncomfortable. I can tell you this from personal experience and from the clients that I have coached. And so what I want you to do is be prepared for that and determine ahead of time what you're going to tell yourself when you begin to feel uncomfortable as you grow. Number one, you can say, everything is figure outable. That is not my quote. Many of you may have heard it. It is from Marie Forleo, but it's brilliant because sometimes you just feel stumped and you feel like, how am I ever going to figure this out? Then you just tell yourself, everything is figure outable. The other thing I want you to tell yourself, I can do hard things. Okay. When we get to this next 4 parts of the list, for some of you, you may hear it and think, I don't know if I can do that. I want you to back up and tell yourself, I can do hard things. All right. So keep those 2 things in mind as we move through this and as you work on shifting that internal perspective so that you view yourself as the CEO that you are. Okay. Now, as a CEO, you're also driving the vision for your business. So I want to remind you to stay connected to that personal why. That is the driving force behind why you do what you do. Okay. Because when you determine that you're going to run your business like the CEO that you are, you're going to approach everything else differently. And that why is going to be undergirding everything that you do. Okay. Now, I want to remind you, as we talk about this, some of you are thinking, okay, when I feel ready, when I feel like I've done all this internal work, then I'll make the shift. Okay. Sometimes it's a shift that you feel, you're like, okay, I'm doing this. But sometimes it's a decision that you just flat out choose to make. You determine, I don't feel ready for this, but I know I want bigger things in my business. So I'm going to make the decision today. I'm going to run my business like a CEO. And then you just do it. You make the shift. Okay. So I promised you action for each item. So this is what I want you to do this week to take action on this. Ask yourself this question. If I were already operating as the CEO of my business, what would I do differently this week? Okay. Another way you can think of that is if I were the CEO, what would I do differently this week? Like if I was looking out and seeing the CEO that I want to be, okay, the CEO that I envision being, what would that CEO be doing differently this week? And then begin doing that. Okay. All right, let's move on to number 2. The second way you're going to show up like a CEO in your business is by knowing your money numbers. Okay, we're going to talk about 2 different numbers today. So number 2 is your money numbers. All right, very important as the CEO that you make decisions for your business based on data and not guesswork. And often what happens for entrepreneurs and horse business owners is they think they know the numbers, they think they have a good idea of what's going on, but they haven't actually sat down to pull a report and look at it in quite a while, if ever. Okay, so I want you to make money management an important part of how you run your business. So, what does this look like? What should you measure? Here is a minimum dashboard that you can start from. Okay, so here, if you're going to track these things, here's what I want you to pay attention to: your monthly revenue being your income. What is coming in every month? And then I want you to separate that out by your service or product, or I call them categories or buckets, whatever makes sense for you. Because I realize that we have a variety of horse businesses listening, okay? And some of you are training, but you also are providing riding lessons, and you also have show rates, and you're also doing camps. So you may have a number of categories and buckets. And the important part here is that you know what's actually bringing in the most revenue for your business. And you don't know that if you don't separate it out, okay? So figure out what works for you, the buckets and categories that work best for you, and make sure you're looking at it that way when you review your revenue. And then, of course, the next one is expenses. I want you to be tracking your expenses and ideally categorizing them. Okay, so that number one, as a business, you should be doing this because it's going to benefit you come tax time. All right, to not be guessing and to have real data to back up the numbers that you're providing. But let's be real, some of you are guessing in some of those areas. And what's the deal is it's not serving you, okay? It's not serving you to grow your business. So pay attention to your expenses, be tracking those, because here's the next thing you're going to track is your profit, okay? It's not enough to just know how much you're bringing in. You and I both know we've seen plenty of those people on social media who are talking about their top line revenue number. I made this and this year, but they're not talking about the profit number or the profit margin. And that matters just as much because you can be bringing in a whole lot of money and then you can be spending a whole lot of money and you don't walk away with very much at the end of the month. Okay. So I want you to pay attention to your profit. And then the last number I want you to pay attention to is how much you are paying yourself. Now, I've had multiple guests on this podcast talk about the book Profit First. I have read it as well and used that system. I highly recommend it if you are looking for a simple system for entrepreneurs for how to figure out just that element of paying yourself and how to work that into your profit strategy. Okay, but what often happens, and the reason that's so important, is because many times horse business owners get to the end of the month and then determine what's left over that I can pay myself. But that is not how you're going to sustainably grow your business, okay? Especially as an entrepreneur, that amount is so important. So be paying close attention to that and tracking that. Now, as I said, we're not tracking one just big number here. I want you to pay attention to each of these and have a system in place to do that, which we'll talk about in a minute when we talk about systems. So your action item for number 2, for knowing your money numbers, is to option A or option B, okay? Because I know some of you are listening on 2 different areas. Option A, if you don't have a system in place right now for tracking your income and tracking your expenses, as simple as it can be, like it doesn't have to be an online software, even though there are lots of great free online softwares available. It could be an Excel spreadsheet, but have a system in place. So if you're listening today and you're saying, Denise, I realize I need to have that in place, that's your action item, is to get a system in place. Number 2, if you already have a system in place, then what I want you to do is put a monthly money date on your calendar. Because oftentimes, those of you who have a system haven't looked at it in a while. Okay, so every month, I want you to be looking at these things so you can make strategic decisions from a place of being informed with the real data. Okay? All right, on to number 3. The third way you are going to step into the role of CEO for your horse business is to track the things that actually drive your growth. And these are the marketing numbers that we're talking about. So number 2 is money numbers. Number 3 is marketing numbers. Let me tell you a little bit of a side story for this one, because a few years ago, I had a VA, and one of the things that I had her doing was every week tracking my email list size and my follower count. on a weekly basis, the platform that I wanted to grow and my email list size. And actually, I think she was tracking podcast downloads as well. Okay. Now, why? Because they say what gets measured gets managed, right? And these are the numbers that should be higher if I want to reach more people and more of the right people, of course. But you and I have talked about using content to qualify. Okay. So more of the right people, yes, but still more people. And because I want to help more horse business owners. But here is where I was getting this wrong. Instead of just tracking the number that you want to grow, you actually, and I should have been tracking the things that are connected to that growth, the things that I can control, right? Just measuring podcast downloads is not what's going to help me grow the podcast. And for me, the podcast is a great lead generator. Some of my best coaching clients have come by way of this podcast. So I do want to grow this podcast and get in front of more and more equine entrepreneurs. Number one, it's practical, free help that I know when people are taking action, they are growing their businesses because they're telling me. So I want to help more horse business owners. And number two, yes, I am a business owner as well. And creating this content for you all helps me to build trust with you so that when it comes time for you to hire a business coach, then ideally, I am the person you're going to reach out to see if we're a good fit to work together. And that's going to happen by way of getting in front of more people. So the thing is, measuring podcast downloads is not the difference maker, okay? That's not what drives growth. Instead, it's what are the things that actually lead to getting more podcast listeners, okay? So what are the things I can control? How many podcasts I produced? How many times I'm posting about the podcast and sharing about it? How many other podcasts am I guesting on? Those types of things are things that I can measure, that I can control, that contribute to the growth. Okay, so learn from my mistake, and I want you to track what actually is going to be connected to your growth. So, for example, if for you, you're saying, Denise, social media is actually how I get a lot of my leads, awesome. I don't want you to just measure how many followers you have. I want you to measure how many times in a month did you provide a clear call to action for people to take the next step to work with you? Or how many times in the month did you share a client testimonial for social proof? Okay, there are things that you can control that are connected with getting those leads from social media. I hope that makes sense to you. And this is exactly why every person that comes into my coaching process, whether it's Take the Reins one-on-one coaching or the Business Barn Collective, the curated small group coaching, every person has a personalized Measure What Matters dashboard that we create together in a very first strategic planning call. Okay, we spend time looking at their definition of success, what's actually helping them do more of what they love to do, and what are the things they can control that we can measure. Because as a CEO, the goal is not for you to only measure outcomes that you are not able to control. The goal is for you to measure the actions that create the results that you are after. And we're going to do that by way of having a personalized Measure What Matters dashboard inside of each of my coaching programs. Okay. If you have questions about that, I would love to visit with you more. Send me a message anytime. But this part is so key because often what happens is horse business owners feel like they're spinning their wheels because they're doing the things they feel like they're quote unquote supposed to do without knowing how it's actually connected to the business they want to build and grow. And that's why this part matters. Okay. We want to track what really matters that's connected to your personal version of success, and it's going to grow your business in a way that meets that. So, how do we take action for this? I want you to look at your personal version of success. What's your definition? And what is the number that you want to see grow? What is the outcome you are going for? And then determine the action that you're going to measure that's connected with that. So I gave you some ideas if it's social media, if it's podcasting, if it's your YouTube channel. Think about the outcome and then think about the action you can control that relates to the outcome. That's how you're going to apply this one. All right, let's move to number 4, friends. Number 4, the fourth way you are going to step into the role of CEO for your equine business is to build repeatable systems. Now, please don't turn me off. For some of you who are like, oh man, I don't want to have to take the time to write this stuff down. Here's what I want to remind you of, okay? If your business feels like you're constantly starting from scratch, like every person has a unique process, every client has something unique about them, and things feel unpredictable, like you can't create a system, you need a system, okay? And it can be as simple as it needs to be to fit your business. But the reality is, many of you that I talk to are saying, Denise, I feel like I need to hire a virtual assistant. I feel like I need some more help and I need some more support. And that absolutely may be true for you. But if you want to get the most out of working with a virtual assistant, I promise you, you need to step back and have some systems in place that you will be able to hand over to them. You need to be able to take what's in your brain, put it on paper, and let's be honest, you can use ChatGPT for this, okay? You can do a brain dump, send it to ChatGPT and say, create an SOP for this, and this based on what I just told you. You could do this for marketing. You can do this for operational items. You could even potentially do this for some financial areas, just in terms of creating a standard operating procedure. This is next level, you guys. This is something that the majority of equine business owners are not doing. And when you step in and take it to this level, then you can bring in that help that's going to support you. Or if you're saying, Denise, I actually don't want to work with a VA, I just need a system to make my life easier, this is the answer to that as well. I will tell you, for podcast production, I created a system knowing I wanted to hire a virtual assistant, but even in seasons like right now, when I'm not working with a VA, I have a process in place to follow. And so it simplifies things for me. And so that can be true for you as well, okay? So building repeatable systems is next level stuff when it comes to your equine business, but I promise you it's going to pay off. How do you take action on this step? This week, I want you to pick one area that you are going to focus on, one area that's feeling like you're constantly reinventing the wheel, rewriting the same email. Maybe it's your content, maybe it's your intake or onboarding process or offboarding, or maybe it is lead generation. What are the ways that you can systematize this one area? Okay, pick one area, get a system in place. We've made it to number 5, friends. The 5th way that you are going to step into your role as a CEO of your equine business is to protect your time like it matters, because it does. If you want sustainable growth, then your time, I hate to use the word management, but I'm going to because it's so crucial, but just know that yes, there's flexibility for that, but your time management, how you choose to manage your time, is going to be the difference maker. You've got to protect your time like it's one of your most valuable assets. And I'm telling you that as I've been telling myself that recently also. I heard a quote recently on a reel, actually on Instagram. So it was not even just a quote. It was somebody that was teaching an older person. I should say person. It was an older gentleman and was teaching students, okay, who were coming up under him about things that he has learned. And one of the things he said is that time is the one commodity that you cannot buy back. Once you've spent it, it's gone. And that is true for each of us as we build and grow our horse businesses. Now, we talked earlier about being an employee versus a CEO. Employees react to their calendar, right? They just do what they've been told. They're not intentional about how they spend their time. CEOs get to decide what goes on the calendar. Nobody is telling you. No one's above you saying this is what you have to do. You get to decide. Remember, back to that personal version of success, how you spend your time. I know that many of you are the business owner, are the CEO, because you wanted time freedom. You wanted to be the one to decide your schedule and have the flexibility. And this is a key part of that, okay? Now, I'm not going to tell you I have mastered this, and I will tell you I've met people who I thought had mastered it, and then they moved into a difficult season and things changed, and so they're mastering it in a new way. So to be honest with you, again, I believe in systems, I believe in structure, and then I also believe in ebbing and flowing in different seasons of life and as your capacity changes. So I think the crucial thing here is the awareness, okay, and taking it seriously. and then determining what that's going to look like for you in the season and capacity that you are in. That'll give you just a few tips, okay? Things to consider as you're doing that. Number one, absolutely utilize your calendar. If you have a calendar app on your phone, are you using that? I know some of my clients have different calendar apps they use with their families, and then they merge it with their business app on Google Calendar or Apple, whatever that looks like for you. But digitally, being able to pull up your calendar anywhere you are, it will change things for you, okay? The other thing I want you to consider is time tracking. Now, please don't roll your eyes at me because I was one of those. I'm like, oh, time tracking, it sounds like such an annoyance. But you may have heard me share this before. Last year, I had a goal for a certain number of hours I wanted to work per week because my kiddos were home from school. And I used Toggle. It is a free time tracking app. It has a desktop plugin that you can use, and it also has an app on your phone. It's super, super simple, super intuitive, and it was really helpful. So if you've never time tracked before and you're struggling with time management, I would 100% encourage you to time track at least for 30 days. And then you can see, where are you actually spending your time and where did you think you were spending your time? What are the areas that are stealing your time that are not really connected to building and growing your business? That will be found out when you venture into time tracking. The other tip I have for you in this is to block out on your calendar the things that are important to you, not just in the business. Self-care is so important. Literally, inside of the Business Barn Collective, we have been talking about this as well because we want to hustle, we want to grow, and there are seasons and times for that. And then there are also seasons and times for saying, I need to take space and do a little self-care, rejuvenate before I jump back in again. And that's important. So block out that piece. For some of you, and for many of you, actually, many of you that I've talked to, you've said, I want to spend time with my own personal horses. I spend time with client horses. I spend time doing client work. I spend time with lesson horses that are in the program, but they're not my personal horses. I miss spending time with my personal horses. That's self-care. So if that's you, I encourage you, make that a priority and do that. Now, one last tip I have for you is to have a filter before you say yes. And this leads into our action item for this last one. Okay, so how can you apply protecting your time this week? I have a question for you. I actually wrote this on a sticky note. It is sticking right next to my computer as well. And I got it from the book 10x is greater than 2x. And here's the question. Does this get me closer to my 10x vision, or is it just a 2x distraction? Now, again, in order for you to know what your 10x vision is, you've got to know that personal definition of success and what you're working towards. And when you know that, it becomes your filter for everything else that you do in your business. So ask yourself, as you start to say yes to something, does this get me closer to my 10x vision, or is it just a 2x distraction? Now, of course, you guys, you're listening to this and hopefully, okay, my goal is never overwhelm. My goal is for you to find one thing that you can take and apply in your business now. So yes, I've shared 5 areas with you, but please know you have freedom. You're the business owner. You're the CEO. You get to determine where the best place is for you to start right now. Now, of course, if we are working together in a coaching capacity, I would be helping you look at this and analyze this and determine where you needed to start. These are 5 areas. It is not completely comprehensive. If we went completely comprehensive, it probably would be overwhelming because we didn't talk about team leadership, or for some of you, HR. You may not be a business of one. You may be leading a team, and stepping into that CEO role matters in that way. We haven't talked about outsourcing or ongoing education to continue growing in your crafts and your skills. There are other ways, is what I'm trying to say, that you can show up as a CEO in your business. But I will tell you, these 5 are the right place to start, because there truly is a difference between working hard and actually building something that you know is sustainable. There's a difference between making money now and creating consistent growth. And there's a difference between doing business alone and leading with clarity, leading with purpose. Okay. So start with these 5 areas and continue to learn and grow. Because here's what I will tell you. This last note, I said there's a difference between doing it alone and leading with clarity. And that difference is not doing it in isolation. That difference is having community. That difference is having somebody you can call up or text or jump into the Facebook group and say, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm committed to this week. Hold me accountable. That, my friends, is a major difference maker when you're ready to show up as a CEO of your business. And that is exactly what we do inside of the Business Barn Collective. It is not just marketing ideas. It is truly a place for you to think strategically, a place for you to be surrounded by fellow growth-minded equine business owners so that you can get clarity and you can build and grow with purpose. You can make an impact the way you want to. And it's so fun because you're not doing it alone. So that means you have people cheering for you, supporting you, helping you on the days where you're saying, holy cow, last week I really pushed hard. I'm feeling it. So here's how I'm going to do self-care this week. Okay. We talk about being consistent in your marketing. We talk about creating systems that support your growth. All of those things happen inside of the Business Barn Collective. I would love to invite you into that. As of today, I will tell you enrollment is not open, but we are opening the doors again on April 1st. So depending on when you're listening to this episode, okay, April 1st, 2026, the doors for the Business Barn Collective are opening again for 10 days. I would love to invite you in to apply. It is a curated coaching program, meaning I will put you into small groups that I believe are a great fit for you. Okay, so that's why there's an application process so I can see what are your goals, what are your objectives, what are your sticking points, and how can I connect you with the right people where you can learn and grow together. It has been so fun to see this first session in 2026 learn and grow together, and I can't wait to connect more of you on April 1st. So please head to stormlily.com/collective to get on the wait list if you are not there yet. Or if you are listening and you're saying, oh, enrollment's open, I want you to go to stormlily.com/collective to get all the details and sign up and get registered and apply, all the good things so that you can jump in and be a part of this unique group coaching experience. But friends, you know how I am on this podcast. I would love to have you in the collective. If it's not for you at this moment, this episode has what you need to take action. Yes, it is easier in community. Yes, it is better when you have accountability. But you can do this. You have what you need in this episode to take simple action steps to step into the role of CEO for your horse business. Now, I will tell you this. I would love to give you one measure of accountability, okay? I would love to get you into the collective. But beyond that today, if you want a little bit of extra accountability, just say it out loud to me. Send me a direct message at Storm Lily Marketing on Instagram and Facebook and tell me, what is the one area we talked about in this episode that you are going to step into as the CEO of your business? I would love to be cheering you on. Thank you so much for joining me here today, friends. I hope you'll stay tuned. I have a new friend that you are going to love to meet here next week on the podcast. And of course, we'll continue to bring you new episodes every week throughout the rest of this year. So if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe and please share this with a friend. Okay. Like I said, the more horse business owners that can hear this and grow their business, the better it is for the industry as a whole. All right. I'm so grateful you're here today. I pray big, big blessings over you and your business. Have an amazing day.